Good morning, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories for the hour. US President Donald Trump says he wants a fair trade deal with China. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says a ceasefire with Russia could begin even today if Moscow is pressured to act. Netanyahu pledges a forceful response against Yemen's Houthis and their backer Iran after a missile struck near Israel's main airport. US President Donald Trump made clear that securing fair trade agreements remains a top priority, particularly with China. He stressed that high tariffs have effectively halted trade with Beijing, leading to significant financial gains for the United States.
US President Donald Trump on Sunday said the US was meeting with many countries, including China, on trade deals, and his main priority with China was to secure a fair trade deal. Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One that he had no plans to speak with Chinese President Xi Jinping this week, but US officials were speaking with Chinese officials about different things.
Well, I want a fair deal with China, but China's been ripping us off for many years, so maybe something should be thought about, a little bit of retribution. China's been ripping us off for many years, ever since they started. To me, I think it was the worst thing that Richard Nixon ever did. And it was Nixon, he's the one that got it started. Thank you very much, everybody.
Trump also emphasized that while the US is negotiating with many countries, he ultimately plans to establish his own deals. He stated that the United States is no longer engaging with China, claiming that the tariffs are so high they effectively prevent any meaningful trade, which he argued is saving the US billions of dollars. Earlier this year, the US finalized a new wave of tariffs targeting Chinese electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, and critical minerals, citing the need to protect American industries. In response, China imposed retaliatory tariffs of up to 125% on a range of US goods. Both sides have hinted at the possibility of reopening trade talks, but no formal negotiations have been announced yet. The retaliatory measures are already weighing heavily on bilateral trade and raising concerns over broader economic impacts.
US President Donald Trump announced on Sunday a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. In a post on Truth Social, he said he was authorizing the US Trade Representative to process the institution of the tariff because the United States movie industry is dying a very fast death. Trump blamed other countries offering incentives to attract filmmakers and studios. The US leader stated that this is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says a ceasefire with Russia could begin even today if Moscow is pressured to act. His remarks came during a visit to Prague.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated on Sunday that a full ceasefire with Russia could be achieved at any moment and called on Kyiv's allies to intensify pressure on Moscow to help make it a reality. Speaking at a joint press conference in Prague alongside Czech President Petr Pavel, Zelenskyy suggested that a 30-day ceasefire would offer a genuine opportunity for diplomacy to succeed.
We believe that ceasefire is possible at any moment, even starting today, and should last for at least 30 days to give diplomacy a real chance.
Zelenskyy dismissed recent Russian statements about a partial ceasefire as disingenuous, citing a surge in assaults on Ukrainian positions.
For example, in the past days, they have been saying that they want some partial ceasefire, but you should know that number of assaults these days was the highest in the past months. They conducted more than 200 assaults. If anyone still believes them, they can test it.
He reiterated support for a US-backed proposal for a full and unconditional ceasefire and stressed the importance of Western unity. On military cooperation, Zelenskyy praised Prague's ammunition initiative and said Ukraine expects to receive 1.8 million shells in 2025.
We count that cooperation will be as effective as it was last year. Tomorrow we will hold meetings with Czech defense companies, and we are working on more details.
Meanwhile, Ukraine faced a fresh wave of Russian drone strikes on Sunday. At least 11 people, including 2 children, were injured in Kyiv, and multiple fires broke out in residential buildings. Ukraine's emergency services deployed 76 firefighters as falling debris sparked fires in Obolonsky and Sviatoshinsky districts. The military said 69 out of 165 drones were shot down, and dozens more were neutralized via electronic warfare. There was no immediate comment from Moscow.
In the documentary Russia, Kremlin Putin, 25 years, President Putin stated that Russia has the strength and resources to end the war logically, but hopes nuclear weapons won't be needed. He also noted the complexity of the conflict and the difficulty in ending the war quickly.
In the documentary Russia, Kremlin, Putin, 25 years, President Putin emphasized that Russia possesses the strength and resources to logically conclude the war with Ukraine. But he expressed hope that nuclear weapons would not be necessary. He reflected on the decision to send thousands of Russian soldiers to Ukraine in February 2022, marking the onset of a major conflict in Europe since World War II. The war has significantly increased tensions between Moscow and the West, resulting in numerous casualties. US President Trump labeled the conflict as a bloody massacre and a proxy war, while Putin acknowledged the risk of nuclear escalation as a consequence of the ongoing war.
They wanted to provoke us, as you said it yourself. They wanted us to make mistakes. There was no need to use the weapons you spoke about, and I hope they will not be required. We have enough strength and means to bring what was started in 2022 to a logical conclusion with the outcome Russia requires.
He explained that Russia's strength allows it to end the war as desired, but the complexity of the conflict makes a quick resolution difficult. He also pointed out that since 2014, Russia has grown stronger, with Crimea's annexation being a key move to protect its interests. And the Crimean Bridge a demonstration of Russia's power. Furthermore, Putin mentioned that after the Minsk agreements, Ukraine started preparing for a confrontation with Russia, but he stressed that Ukraine is not a permanent threat. The main issue is the protection of large territories.
In Romania, far-right candidate George Simeon has taken a strong lead in the first round of the presidential election rerun, winning over 40% of the vote. Liberal Bucharest Mayor Nicușor Dan followed in second place with around 21%, advancing to a runoff set for the 18th of May. The election is being closely watched across Europe and the United States, seen as a test of rising Trump-style nationalism within the European Union. The original election held 6 months ago was annulled due to alleged campaign fraud and suspected Russian interference. With the May 7th conclave approaching, Vatican City sees heightened security as 133 cardinals prepare to elect a new pope. Residents and visitors express calm and confidence in the security measures surrounding the historic event.
Security has been visibly tightened around Vatican City just days before the May 7th conclave to elect a successor to Pope Francis. With 133 cardinals under the age of 80 set to gather in the Sistine Chapel, anticipation is building among the faithful, who await the iconic white smoke signalling a new pope. As Vatican City prepares for the arrival of a new pope, tourists say they feel safe despite the heightened attention and large crowds. Despite the growing crowds and global attention, both tourists and locals report feeling safe and calm.
There are a lot of security staff in strategic places, like stations, for example. You get a sense of security because the forces of order are present on site. Beyond that, In the evening, you can walk through the streets without any fear. The alleys, the avenues are safe.
The city is safe, we feel calm. We walked around the city, we walked around the Vatican. It's all quiet. There are the military, but the situation is under control, so we're calm here.
The late Pope's funeral and subsequent procession through Rome to his burial place at the Basilica of St. Mary Major attracted a crowd estimated at more than 400,000 in what was described by the media as a success for Italian law enforcement.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to retaliate against Yemen's Houthis and Iran at a time and place of its country's choosing. This comes after a missile fired by the group struck Israel's main airport, escalating tensions and disrupting flights. The Houthis later announced plans to impose a comprehensive aerial blockade on Israel by repeatedly targeting its airports.
Speaking in Jerusalem alongside Cyprus President Nikos Christodoulides, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the attack near Israel's main airport. He said that Israel would respond to the Houthis and issued a direct warning to Tehran.
As far as the trade routes, obviously we're being challenged. The whole world is being challenged by the Houthis, including in the dastardly attack they did today near Ben Gurion Airport. We will not tolerate it. We will take very strong action against them. And we always remember that they act with their patron Iran's direction and support. We will do what we need to do to take care of our security, to respond effectively, and to give Iran a due warning that this cannot continue.
The comments followed a missile launched by Yemen's Houthi rebels that struck near Ben Gurion International Airport on Sunday, landing close to a parking lot by Terminal 3. The impact triggered panic inside the terminal and briefly halted all air traffic. 4 people were injured by the blast and 2 others were hurt while seeking shelter. The incident marks a rare and alarming breach of Israeli airspace. Local officials displayed the impact site, pointing to a crater described as tens of meters deep and wide. The Houthis claimed responsibility, describing the attack as retaliation for Israel's intensified military campaign in Gaza. In a later statement, the group threatened to enforce a comprehensive aerial blockade by continuing to target Israeli airports. Airport operations were temporarily suspended and sirens sounded across several regions. While flights later resumed, several major international airlines, including Lufthansa, Air France, Delta and ITA Airways, cancelled their upcoming services to Tel Aviv. According to Israeli media, both the long-range Arrow missile defense system and the US-supplied THAAD battery failed to intercept the projectile. Military and intelligence officials are now investigating the breach in air defences. Netanyahu is expected to meet with senior ministers and defense chiefs to determine Israel's next move.
Israeli officials have confirmed that the Security Cabinet unanimously approved a plan to expand the military offensive in Gaza. This decision follows the military's move to call up tens of thousands of reservists to intensify operations. The Israel Defense Forces say the objective is to increase pressure on Hamas and ensure the release of hostages held in the territory. Under the latest plan, troops will be sent into new areas of Gaza with orders to dismantle all Hamas infrastructure, both above and below ground. The Security Cabinet also approved a new aid distribution plan for Gaza, though it's unclear when supplies will enter the enclave. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araqchi is set to visit Pakistan and India as part of Tehran's regular consultations with neighbouring countries. The trip signals Iran's continued engagement in regional diplomacy amid shifting geopolitical dynamics. Araqchi will arrive in Pakistan on Monday to meet senior officials and discuss bilateral ties, regional and international developments. He's also scheduled to visit India later in the week, according to Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Beghai. The next meetings of the 3+3 regional cooperation platforms should be held in Baku and Yerevan in the order of rotation to be determined by the parties themselves, according to Russia's ambassador to Armenia, Sergei Koprikin. He also said the decisions about the South Caucasus should be made by the region's own countries. The ambassador pointed to high-level contacts between Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia from 2020 to 2022 and the 2021 launch of a trilateral group aimed at reopening trade and transport links. He said Moscow supports the 3+3 platform, which includes regional neighbours like Iran and Turkey, and called for expanding cooperation, particularly among Russia, Armenia and Iran, on economic and humanitarian issues, while stressing these efforts should not replace existing agreements. Baku has condemned the detention and deportation of Azerbaijani MP Azar Badamov from Moscow, calling the move an unfriendly act and demanding a clear explanation from Russian authorities. According to Azerbaijan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Badamov was part of an official delegation invited to Astrakhan by Russian regional officials to attend events commemorating the 102nd anniversary of national leader Heydar Aliyev. The delegation flew from Baku to Moscow en route to Astrakhan, but upon arrival in Moscow, Badamov was detained by Russian authorities and informed he was banned from entering the country. He was subsequently sent back to Baku. Azerbaijan's embassy in Moscow contacted Russia's foreign ministry, which acknowledged the incident and said it would investigate, though no explanation has yet been given. Uzbekistan and Afghanistan have signed a landmark agreement on Amudarya River Basin management. Our Tamim Bahis brings us more from Kabul, Afghanistan.
Uzbekistan and Afghanistan have signed a significant agreement on the joint management of the Amu Darya River Basin and the efficient use of its water resources. The deal was formalized during a visit by the Uzbek delegation to Afghanistan, with both sides also discussing mutual trade. The signing of the agreement between Uzbekistan and Afghanistan opens up opportunities for creating joint working groups on water resource management, developing monitoring and data exchange mechanism, and introducing modern water conservation. This agreement marks a strategically important and timely step towards regional cooperation. In a region historically affected by water disputes, it reflects a growing willingness to manage shared resources through dialogue, coordination, and mutual respect. Beyond its environmental focus, the agreement links water management with agricultural trade, promoting both sustainability and economic interdependence, critical pillars for long-term regional stability and development. This is a promising example of how transboundary cooperation can turn potential conflict into opportunity for shared growth. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
A centuries-old tradition took centre stage in Baku as the International Carpet Festival concluded in the city's historic core. The event drew international attention with its vibrant showcase of cultural heritage, artistry and live craftsmanship.
Baku's streets have come alive with vibrant carpets and cultural exchanges as the International Carpet Festival transforms İçerişehir into a vibrant hub of art, tradition and global craftsmanship.
In the heart of the capital, this three-day celebration of carpet weaving brings together artisans and experts from around the world, including Turkey, Pakistan, Tatarstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Iran, and various regions of Azerbaijan. The festival honors centuries of tradition while encouraging international exchange through live weaving demonstrations, exclusive exhibitions, musical performances, and public masterclasses by those who have been in this craft for decades.
I am 74 years old. Throughout my life, I've woven special somak carpets. For many years, I worked in Kusar and later taught weaving to students in Alpen village. For the past 2.5 years, I've been weaving in Guba. These 2 somak carpets here were woven by me. Nowadays, few people weave somak carpets, so I continue this craft for everyone.
At the national pavilions, visitors explore carpets from across the world, each showcasing the weaving styles and design traditions of its country. The displays range from Kyrgyz tribal motifs and Kazakh designs to Uzbek craftsmanship, Tatar styles, Georgian traditions, and symbolic patterns from Pakistan.
Our carpets are inspired by the same design theory, which is Central Asian or Western Asian. But with the passage of time, we have made some interventions which are purely South Asian. So ours is a combination of these things. Second thing is that we use 100% natural materials in our carpets. Like the wool is pure lamb's wool, which is spun locally. It's not on the machines. Similarly, the dyes or the pigments that we use are drawn from nature, from like herbs, from fruits, from trees.
Among the distinguished visitors is Princess Lala Hasna of Morocco, a country which has rich carpet weaving traditions of its own. Invited as an honorary guest to Cherysheha, she was briefed on the carpet's cultural significance and the enduring global reputation of Azerbaijani weaving. Carpets from across Azerbaijan are displayed throughout the festival, showcasing the unique characteristics of various regional styles.
From bold patterns to delicate details, these carpets reflect the identity of entire regions. Each one is handmade, carrying the story and the skill of its weaver.
Each region brings its own symbols, colors, and weaving techniques passed down through generations.
The 2 carpets we are standing in front of date back to the 18th and 17th centuries. One is the famous dragon carpet from Karabakh, and the other is a Kila Afshan carpet, characteristic of the Baku school. Creating these carpets took years of painstaking effort, and they are faithful reproductions. In other words, these carpets have been brought back to life in both pile and flat weave forms.
This new project, this carpet, is called Architecture of Memory. It's about childhood memories in the old city, about wandering around, getting lost in the narrow streets, unable to find your way out or reach your destination. It's also based on childhood experiences because all children in Azerbaijan used to sit on carpets to play with their toys. When you sit on this carpet, you realize it's not just a carpet. You are climbing the stairs, and your task is to choose the right path. This carpet is all about that.
This year's festival is especially significant, marking 25 years of Cherysheha's UNESCO World Heritage status and 15 years since Azerbaijani carpet weaving was listed as UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. Gulchin Kojalieva, Natig Mamadov, a news from Baku, Azerbaijan.
You're up to date with world news for this hour. Keep watching A News for more updates throughout the day.